I'm so excited to be here with you today. Welcome to the Dr. Willow Show. I'm Dr. Willow, and we are bridging together sexuality, spirituality, and medicine. Had to think about that for a second. Yes, sexuality, spirituality, and medicine. And right now we're in this three-part series of these habits, three of the most important habits that you could get into that will really deepen your level of intimacy, your ability to have amazing sexual experiences, and draw to you the partner that you dream of, or if you're already in partnership, transform that partner that you're in relationship with into the one that you do really desire to be with. So pulling things out of your partner by transforming who you are. So these are the habits, and we are in phase 2 of the habits today. Last Friday, we talked about trust. We went really deeply into what that is and how to establish that sense of trust, that level of trust inside of yourself, and how to then be able to trust others in the world, particularly your intimate partner. So now we're moving into the second habit today. I'm really excited to share it with you. It's a really, really good one. And it's a little bit of a scary one, but I'm excited for you to hear about it and to bring it more fully into your life. So I got a little quote to start you out with today. Okay. So here we go. We are biologically, cognitively, physically, and spiritually wired to love, to be loved, and to belong. It's so true. So when these needs are not met, we don't function as we're meant to. We break, we fall apart, we numb, we ache, and we hurt others, and we get sick. So that's by Brené Brown. And so how can we expand? This is my question for you, and write it in the comments. How can we expand our capacity to love and to be loved? Like, what's one way that you could do that today? Expand your availability to love and your availability to be loved. How do you receive love? How do you give love? And can you expand that a little bit more? How can you expand your capacity? Write that in the comments. I want to hear what some of your ideas are. I'm so curious. Today, we're going to talk about one of the most valuable habits that you can have in order to create spiritual intimacy. And this one, like I said, it can be scary, it can be a little edgy, and that's really true for everyone. It's not like you're alone in this habit being scary and edgy for you. Everyone feels that way about this habit. But that's why it's so important. That's why it's such a crucial habit to get into, or practice. We could call it a practice or a habit, just a way of being in the world that starts to open you up for deeper experiences. So stay with me for the next little bit here, because if you can dial up this habit, it's absolutely going to change your life. Absolutely, 100%. There's no way that it can't. And if you're just tuning into the Dr. Willow Show for the first time, like I said, we're in the middle of a 3-part series here on how you can revolutionize your sex life, your love life, and your intimate connection. So go back and watch last week's if you didn't yet. And after I reveal today's crucial habit or practice, we will meet back here next Friday for the final intimacy creating habit that you can become more one with. Okay, are you ready for today's habit? Drum roll, here we go. So today's habit that I really want to dive into and talk about is vulnerability. So definition of vulnerability is, openness to attack or hurt, either physically or in an emotional way. Willingness to show emotion or allow one's weakness to be seen or known. And then I loved this ecology biology definition, the state of being likely to be classified as an endangered species in the near future if conditions do not improve. So with those definitions in mind, openness to attack or hurt physically or emotionally, why would anyone ever want to put themselves in a vulnerable position? It doesn't seem like a good idea at all. Not being vulnerable is a way of protecting yourself, right? And in order to do that, in order to not be vulnerable, you have to avoid your truth. You have to avoid your true feelings. And when you're avoiding your truth, you can't really trust yourself, which is what we talked about last Friday. So that's the first step, is trusting yourself, and then trusting yourself enough to be true to what your feelings are, to what's really going on inside of you. Because if you're avoiding your true feelings, you're shutting down a part of yourself. You're locking away aspects of who you truly are, just so that you don't have to get hurt or become extinct, as the case may be in the animal world. And it's a good strategy in theory. It's a good strategy in theory. The problem is that shutting down and blocking away your emotions is going to hurt you in the long run. This is where dis-ease begins. Your cellular body will turn these unmet, unseen emotions into health problems. I've been working as a clinician for over 2 decades, and I see this all the time. And when we go deeper into the sensations and the feelings of what's actually going on behind the disease, it's always emotional. It's always these ways of holding yourself together, protecting yourself from being vulnerable, protecting yourself from getting hurt. So I'm going to give you a little example for myself of this, of how not looking at true emotions and truth for myself led me to experiencing some really horrible dis-ease in my body. So I was in 2 different relationships. I've actually only had 2 long-term relationships in my whole life, and I'm 41. So there you go. So 2 long-term relationships. One was 6.5 years, one was 7.5 years. And I stayed in both of those relationships, 3 to 4 years longer than my soul, than my truth was telling me to. So my emotional body knew it was true, but I kept pushing those emotions down and focused all my energy and attention on the good things in the relationship, because there were a lot of good things to focus on. So I put on my rose-colored glasses and I ignored the very strong feeling that I had that it was time to dissolve these relationships. And this eventually led me to having abdominal migraines. So y'all have heard of migraines, but you might not have heard of abdominal migraines. Abdominal migraines are excruciating. I mean, you can't even move. It's like you're locked in a crouched position, and all you can do is moan until it passes. And it can take a few days to pass. So these started for me in 2019, when I had just been on the brink of dissolving the relationship that my heart and my soul were telling me to dissolve. But then I didn't. I decided to stay and stick with it, and maybe something else will pop through. But I knew that I needed to pop through and carry on my own. So in 2019, these episodes began, and I had one every single month. And I was like, are they related to my cycle? What's going on here? And as a clinician for over 2 decades, anytime I work with migraine patients, I can see so clearly, I know so clearly that migraines are related to an incongruence, meaning the head, the heart, and the gut are not on the same page about what you're doing in your life. Okay. So that's what was going on for me: head, heart, and gut. And my gut was like, go away, move out of the relationship. And my head primarily was like, oh no, we're going to stay, we're going to make it work. Da, 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 da. And so that kept happening every single month. And it really was just because I was holding this truth inside and not taking it out and not looking at it and not displaying it for my true self to see. So I knew exactly what was happening. Like, in my heart of hearts, I knew I was having these abdominal migraines. I knew they were emotional and that my body was trying to tell me to move on. Yet I continued to push those emotions down. Does this sound familiar to anyone out there? If it does, it's a safe group. It's a private group. Go ahead and write it in the chat box because you're not alone. You're really not alone. And the very last episode that I had of these abdominal migraines was the worst one I ever had. And usually they would last like 2 to 3 days. This one lasted like 5 to 7 days. And I actually got a head migraine on top of it, which I had never even had before. And it was just like everything in my cellular being was saying, it is time. It is time. It is time. And so I decided it was time. And I dissolved that relationship and I moved on. And I knew that it was the very last time I would have one of those episodes of abdominal migraine. And it was. I haven't had another one since. And fortunately, that dissolving of that relationship was so sweet. It was so amicable. And now our relationship has transformed into this really beautiful friendship that is working great. So it wasn't like I had to let go of my friend. That's always the saddest thing about letting go of any relationship is you're letting go of your best friend in a way. But I didn't have to because I was with my truth the whole way through. And I was like, let's do this differently. Let's do this breakup in a different way. And he was like, yeah, let's do it different. And so it worked. So creating that congruence inside of yourself really gives you a leg up on the strength you need to be vulnerable, right? And we're going to be exploring how you can get in touch with that authentic truth and be vulnerable enough to share it with someone else during our next 5-day virtual retreat. It starts November 8th. Molly will drop a link in the comments for you to sign up for that. And it's going to be really, really powerful. So go ahead and get yourself registered for that. It's Revitalize Your Intimate Relationship Retreat. Revitalize your intimate relationship. And even if you don't have a relationship, it's still time to revitalize your relationship to intimacy in general. So here's another quote by Brené Brown, since we're talking about vulnerability and she's the queen of it. Authority is a collection of choices that we have to make every single day. It's about the choice to show up and be real, the choice to be honest, the choice to let our true selves be seen. Okay? The choice to let our true selves be seen, choice to be honest. So do you think that more vulnerability, more being seen, more being honest would bring you and your partner into a deeper connection? Does that sound like it would work for you? Go ahead and write it in the comments. Yeah, it does sound like it would work for me. Or actually, I already feel like I'm really vulnerable with my partner and it's not working. That's important to know too, because part of vulnerability is showing your true self to the point where someone might not want to hang out with you as you are in your true self. But that's good news for you because you don't want to hang out with them either. You don't want someone who doesn't want the true you. So that's the beauty. That's the tipping point of what vulnerability is. It's that moment where you're like, okay, if I really let my truest self be seen here, then that person's going to appreciate and love and want to be with my true self. And that person isn't. And that's not exactly what I thought was going to be. But it's a beautiful opportunity, right? To evolve and to expand and to really bring in the people who are right for you and to actually let go of those who are not. So here's a little seemingly random question for you. What is your favorite color? I'm curious about this. What's your favorite color? Write it in the comments. The reason I ask is because colors play on emotions. And when we're drawn to a certain color, it can be really telling about what emotions are true for you and what's really something that you desire. So you can use your favorite color to release the fear and the uncertainty and really step into the confidence of what's true for you. Right. And this can also give you that level of confidence that allows you to share more vulnerably with others. Let me check out my comments over here. Yellow. Ooh, yes. So that bright, oh my God, somebody wrote vulva and vulnerability come from the same root word, openness. I love that. That is so beautiful. I love that. And how can we expand our capacity to be loved and be loved? Love that. So these are great comments. So excited that you guys are here. So I've got another kind of quote for you, because part of, I love this quote. It's by Jeff Brown, and part of being vulnerable is being seen, right? So when somebody's like, "I really see you. I really see you." Oh my God, how good does that feel? Really, all we want as human beings is acknowledgement. So, Jeff Brown says, if there's any need that is perpetually unmet on this planet, it's the need to feel seen. To feel seen in our humanity, in our vulnerability, in our beautiful imperfection. When we are held safe in that, a key turns inside of our hearts, freeing us from our isolation, transforming our inner world. And if there's anything that we can offer each other, it's the gift of sight. I see you. Perhaps the most important words that we can utter to each other. I see you. So that's my challenge for you today and this over this weekend. I want you to find someone in your life who you really feel like you see them. And even if you can tell that they're still hiding some things, they're still not being totally honest with themselves about certain things, start to give them that reflection of I see you, because that's going to let them feel more safe to let more of themselves be seen, right? So the more that you give them that reflection of I see you truly for who you are, the more their true self can come forward. So I was recently having a tantra date with one of my amazing man muses. And if you don't know what a man muse is, then you've got to come to the retreat, because I talk more in depth about what a man muse is. And really everyone should have one. Men and women should have man muses and sheroes. I have some great sheroes as well. So anyway, there I was having a tantra date with this incredible man. He's just a huge inspiration in my life. I'm so grateful to know that there is a man like him walking on the earth today. So what he was able to do for me was he actually took the time to pull out of me this archetype, this part of me that I'm really ready to embody, to become more of, and to be seen for more fully, right? So I'm ready for this part of me, this archetype within me, to be seen. And he set this beautiful stage for that archetype to come forward. And that archetype is the High Priestess. And so for me, that means, holding erotic energy with complete integrity. So holding that sensual, sexually charged and like ignited space with absolute integrity, while simultaneously expanding my capacity to be in pleasure as a human being. So the High Priestess for me is me priestessing sexuality, sensuality through my life and my world, and expanding that into other people's worlds, right? So that they can really see how valuable sexual energy is to their health, to their vitality, to everything else in their life. And the highness of that for me is doing it with total fucking integrity, right? So that I am not like trying to get mine, or like trying to get someone to like me, or trying to make something like little devious devil that could come out, trying to make that happen. No, I'm doing it with total fucking integrity, so that the people that I am, working with on that level as clients or man muses or whatever they are, friends, however I'm working with them, clients, it's coming from this level of like, this is for you. This is the medicine for you that's inside of you that we're going to pull out of you. We're going to use sexuality as medicine for you in your life. And so in order to do that, I have to be perpetually, like constantly plugged in to love. Capital I, capital N, plugged into love. And from that space, I can really hold this field this field of coherence, this field where everything is in congruence, everything is aligned inside of me, and everything is aligned in the greater field of the Tao, right? This is Taoist practice. And then my client or my tantric partner can then drink from that. They can drink from that field of coherent space. And that is fucking magnetic. That is so attractive. And I cannot tell you the magnetism that I am experiencing right now. I'm just calling in my dreams. My dreams are coming true and through every single day because I've cultivated this really deep practice inside and I'm teaching other people to do it. So that's my dream. It's coming. It's here. It's true. It's happening, right? So I'm going to dive way deeper, way deeper into what it means to priestess, healthy and whole, healing and revitalizing sexuality through your body and into the world during our retreat, during our virtual retreat. So be sure to register for the Revitalize Your Intimate Relationship retreat. It's going to be amazing. I'm so excited for it. It's starting November 8th. So I'm just curious, does that sound like it would help you in your intimate relationships? Does it sound like it would really change and evolve the way that you showed up in your relationship with intimacy? Give me a yes or give me a no. Let me know for what's true for you. Write it in the comments. The third kind of piece of vulnerability that I want to talk about today. So just to recap, we talked about vulnerability as one piece of vulnerability, what that actually is. Then we talked about acknowledgement as the second piece, right? Being seen, really, truly being seen and letting yourself be seen. And now the third piece that's really important to vulnerability is boundaries. So boundaries need to be established. And Brené Brown says, daring to set boundaries is about having the courage to love ourselves even when we risk disappointing others, right? So part of being able to expand fully into your desire and into your pleasure and into your sexuality is having strong parameters, okay? So when I'm working with couples, I'm like, okay, it's going to be your turn to receive and your turn to give. And many couples, I can't tell you how many married couples I talk to. And I'm like, do you ever just give? And do you ever just receive? And they're like, no, we never do that. I mean, it just completely changes the dynamic of your sexual encounter when you set that up. So that's just, there's one huge nugget for you. But if you establish with your partner up front, okay, this sexual time, this sexual encounter that we're about to have is for me to receive, which means it's not about you getting your yah-yahs off or getting your kicks, right? This is about me receiving. And then you're going to get another turn, another time later this month or whatever, later this week to receive at a different time and date. So when you set up that boundary, when you set up those parameters, those edges, that container, then you, as the receiver, you really truly get to rest in that clear boundary that you've just established. And you get to explore what receiving really truly means for you. Like, what does receiving do for you? How does it change who you are? Who does it allow you to be in the world? What is your relationship to receiving? And it doesn't matter if I'm coaching someone online or someone in person, I always establish very clear boundaries right up front, right away, so that we both know where we stand. We both know what this relationship is between us. And here's how I like to break down boundaries. Boundaries are really requests. Okay, here's how you can look at boundaries, right? There's two legs. Boundaries can be requests or they can be requirements. So a request is something like, hey, honey, I'd really like you to take out the garbage every Sunday to the curb. And, if you don't, I'm still going to love you and stay with you. That would be a request. A requirement would be, hey, honey, I need you to take that garbage out to the curb every single Sunday. Or if you don't, it's going to be the undoing of our relationship. That's not a very great example with the garbage, but you get the point. Like, it's clear. So you have to, when you're creating boundaries for yourself, you have to be honest with yourself. This is a vulnerable thing. You have to be honest with yourself. Is this a request? Like if they don't do it, and am I still going to stay? Am I still going to love them? Or is this a requirement? If they don't meet my requirement that I'm requesting of them, it's going to eventually undo our relationship. And in my last relationship, just to give a better example, I had a lot of requirements, and he would meet them. He would meet them to a point, but never completely, never fully. And that's why it went on and on for years beyond when I knew it was time to let it go. And so that can be really tricky. That can be a hard thing to navigate when you're in a long-term relationship. So, my genius is really helping couples get very clear about these boundaries, get very, very clear about what's a requirement for them, and how does that thing that needs to be met for them, how does it need to be met in a way that they feel seen? That's all. You starting to see the picture? So during our retreat, November 8th, we begin. I'm going to spend more time talking about how you can get better at boundaries and how that will evolve your love life in a really powerful way. So let me ask you, are you needing more clarity? Are you needing more clarity around your requests versus your requirements? Is that something that sounds like it would be helpful and useful for you? Let me know in the comments. And, I'm curious also where you all have been tuning in from today. I am still in Santa Cruz County, about to move to Maui. I am leaving for Maui in 6 days. So the next time you see me for one of our Friday lives, I will be in Maui and I will be warm and I can't wait to be there. So go ahead and sign up for our next virtual retreat. It's going to be super powerful and amazing. And then be sure to get your booty back here next Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. And I will see you then. Namaste.